Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup to make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
It's a setup
To make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
the six-figure setup.
But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really wanna see is the money.
Go get the money, go get the money.
My check.
The six-figure setup.
The Love and Business series has been powerful all month long, and the Six Figure Setup podcast is not done yet. Patrick and Felicia Kelly, better known as PK and Fee, are the powerhouse couple behind the Rich Black brand. In this week's episode, host Tiffany Gillespie interviews them about excelling in all areas of life, including wealth and legacy building. If you were impacted by the past interviews, this series closer is not to be missed.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Six Figure Setup podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie, and I'm so excited to be with you all in this love month. Anybody who follows me, anyone who knows me personally knows that I love love. I love seeing people win in love, and I also love seeing people win in business. So of course, it would only make sense that we would put the two together in the month of February and really focus on some phenomenal couples who have mastered doing life, love, and business together. So we're continuing with the series today. I have another amazing couple that I am going to be interviewing today. They are going to be sharing their story. They're going to be sharing their secrets to being successful in business, navigating all of the ups and downs that come with business, because you all know it's very important to me that we not just share the upside of things, but also the downside of things, that we don't just talk about the flow, but we got to talk about when that flow is stopped up and backed up as well, and how you push through that spiritually and naturally. So as a quick reminder, make sure that you guys register for the master classes that are going to be happening this month, and that you also check out the ads from our sponsors for this particular series. So the couple that I have today, they are a couple who has mastered Team Us, right? That they have figured out, and I don't know how they figured it out, but I'm gonna ask them in today's episode. They have figured out how to keep them, the us, the pair, the marriage at the center, and build everything else around it. They have a beautiful family, and I'll talk about that in a second. They have amazing businesses that they have built, so many things that they have accomplished, but they are literally the epitome of doing what works for us. That's the other thing. Y'all see the wife, she is a fiery woman of God, and she is very vocal about doing what works for them. And it's been such a pleasure to watch them really stand in that and to own that. So I'm sure we're going to talk about that today, but they really do what works for them in life, love, and business, not trying to fit into the status quo, not trying to fit into any shell or any mold or any cookie cutter frame of what life should look like when you are doing business with your spouse. So they are an example of godly love. They are an example of doing business well and in excellence. That is one thing that they do not shy away from or skimp on. And their journey is one that's really been rerouted by God a couple times, probably more than a couple of times, right? Their journey, both spiritually, financially, in business, in life, just in all the areas, right? The physical journey has been rerouted multiple times, but they have never stopped moving in step with God. Right before we started recording, the wife of the couple, and I'll tell you their names in a second, but the wife of the couple literally said, I'm just trying to be obedient. So like they live a life of obedience and always being in step with God and what God is doing. So at this point, you're probably wondering, Tiffany, who are you talking about? Well, I am talking about Patrick and Felicia Kelly. Throughout today's episode, you may hear me refer to them as PK, that's Patrick, or Fee, that's Felicia, or by their full names, but we're going to get it done. So they are often called the epitome of a power couple, and I use that, right? They have spent the last decade helping others to create legacy-focused lifestyles. So not just a legacy-focused business, not just a legacy-focused marriage, but an entire life that is focused on legacy. God's plan for them is to be an example of wealth in their community, and they influence others through speaking, teaching, and coordinating strategic events that get them in the room with their target audience, with the people who they are called to serve. They are also the proud parents of two amazing children, Dorian, who is age 6, and Bella Kay, who is age 4. They currently reside in Houston. They're going to share about how they got there. And they really spend their time with family, traveling, creating content. And I'm going to share at the end of today's episode how you all can get connected to them and stay connected to them. So I think I've said enough. I'm going to bring them on screen. Welcome, 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 you guys.
Hey now.
Hey now. All right. So the epitome of a power couple, the epitome of a couple that has said, we are going to do what works for us. We are not deviating from that. We don't care what nobody thinks. You all's commitment to us has been openly scrutinized at times. People have not understood some of the decisions that you all have made, where your life and your love and your business is concerned. So we're going to dig into all of that today. And I hope that more than anything, people walk away from today's episode with that same type of resolve, that they're going to be sold out for God's vision for them, but remembering that the marriage is the first ministry. So can you all tell us how you all met? Let's go back to the beginning. How did you all meet? Tell us the love story. I'm probably going to be over here cheesing because I love hearing a good love story.
That's so funny because Patrick was like, she talking about us?
Yeah, she talking about us. I'm like, who these people? Who's she interviewing? Oh, it's us. Okay.
I was like, dang, we sound
talk
good.
about y'all.
So we sound all right, though. Thank you so much for having us. We love talking about how we met and our journey because people be like, for real? And we just want to share that. You know, life and love doesn't have to be what people thinks it needs to be as long as God is satisfied. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about how we met, we kind of tell this story together. Because Patrick's the first to tell you that I put him right out of my office when he walked in there, thinking he was going to tell me what to do.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, be for real. So I had, in 2009, I had a drug overdose, prescription pills, and I didn't know if I was gonna wake up, but I did. And it started to send me into a space of reality because I had lived the past several years just in denial of the greatness of life. And because I had come from a space where people do not see success and people don't see wealth, I did not believe that I deserved it, which turned around and made me believe that I didn't deserve love either. So in 2011, when I said, I'm going to get my life together, I'm going to call my mom, I'm going to go home to North Carolina, and I'm just going to sit. I'm just going to chill. And after I get myself together, I'm just going to date myself. And so I started taking myself on these extravagant dates, and I went to get a job because my parents would not let me work. They were like, you cannot work. You need to get your life together. We're taking care of everything. Mm-hmm. And the guy that I was seeing at the time, he was like, I see that you're ready to really get back into selling. You should go and apply at a Nissan dealership. Mm-hmm. And he literally suggested me right to my husband because that's where I walked in and I saw Patrick.
I know that's right.
You know, I had been breaking up with this guy because it just was not a good fit. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that was his purpose in my life. And so when I walked into the dealership for the first time, I didn't recognize it at the time. But years later, I recognized that when I walked in, I don't remember anything else from that moment except for him. Yeah. You know, it was like it's just my world stopped. And I tell people that to this day because it's cliche, but it really happens. It happened to me.
Yeah.
And
I feel you like Beyonce.
it's see what I'm dealing with. And it is, I went into my office after I got hired and I couldn't find anybody. I walked in the building, I couldn't find anybody. And there was a customer that walked in. And I said, I don't know where anyone is, but I'm going to figure out what you need. And I'm going to find the keys. And by the time they got out of there lollygagging me, and I had sold the car.
Yeah.
And he's asking the manager, he's like, well, who's getting the new girl's deal? And I'm like, well, what do they mean? I'm not a new girl. I'm just new to y'all. And so, and he walked into my office. I guess you pick it up from there like you always do.
Well, as you can see, she didn't like me.
Yeah.
Do you like me now?
Oh, you all right?
I'm all right. Well, no, she did not like me at first, but it was something about her. I'm like, okay, I could tell that I can learn a lot from her, and she fine too. So I got
that works
a little bit. So yeah, but at the end of the day, looking back at it now, it's like I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Yeah, I love that. So when did you all get married? How many years of marriage are we celebrating?
Oh, we've been married for 8 years, almost 8.5, together for 10. We were engaged 6 months after meeting.
I know that. Listen,
baby, I ain't no girlfriend. Baby, I ain't no girlfriend.
Well,
amen. Okay.
That's what we don't normally say.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah, like nobody.
No one knew we were together. No one.
Okay. Why did y'all decide to keep it private? Like, what led to that decision?
I didn't want any opinions. Right? I only wanted to be able to hear God and understand what I was feeling, understand what I was processing, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough time to process our feelings because we're busy running our mouth. And so because I'm talking about it, I don't have time to think and sit with myself and hear God. And I had done cooked the man a meal. I needed to pray.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm over here cooking.
Because once we start cooking, you in.
I was a month in. I'm cooking the meal. I said, oh. And so I immediately went to prayer. I was like, Lord, I have a specific prayer that I always pray, and I share it with single women all the time. When I was meeting men back then, when I was dating, when I met a man, I would say, Lord, real quick, if he ain't the one, go and cut it. I ain't got time. Just go and cut it immediately. And he was still over there.
Getting the meals cooked.
Because God answered me. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but God answered me.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting many meals cooked, like, one a week, one every other week, because I can't be being no wife to no boyfriend. But, I didn't want to hear from anybody. And so that was my reason for not telling anyone. And when I brought it up to him, he agreed. He was like, yeah, let's keep people out of our business. And we worked together. Even though we were on the same level as far as work, we shared an office. No one knew anything. And when I came in with a ring, they were like, wait. Actually, it's to the extent that someone on Facebook congratulated me and the other guy. And I was like, baby, you so far out my business.
Awkward. It's not him, boo.
Awkward for him. Because, baby, when they got that picture, they were like, oh, who's that?
It was not him. That is so funny, but I love that. And I think when I'm listening, to me, it sounds like you all set a foundation. Again, I think just looking from the outside looking in, y'all are team us. Like, I know a lot of really wonderful married couples, but I like y'all's level of team us is something different. And it sounds like you all set the foundation from the beginning, from the courting stage, from being engaged, that no matter what, like, we're going to be on the same page and it's always going to be team us. So can you all talk a little bit about, and it's kind of jumping ahead in my notes, but I feel like it goes here. Well, can you talk about leaning on your partner, your husband, so like not just your husband and wife, but like your life partner, right? Can you talk about leaning on one another versus leaning on family and friends? Because like you said, when you first meet someone, it can be, you kind of like want to know, like, is anybody else seeing what I'm seeing? And that anybody else, first and foremost, needs to be God. But we do want, family and friends to support, the decisions that we're making, and, to love the person. That don't mean we're not going to be with them if nobody supports, but it makes it, it's good if we got a couple people, that will support and, be there. So But how have you all been able to maintain that team us mentality when the world is used to people leaning on friends, families, social media, even when they're married? How do you all manage that?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do you want to take that one?
I'll start out with first. I've always been the type. I'm like, I don't really care about people. Like I care about people, but I don't worry about what people say, because at the end of the day, like, I grew up from a small family, single parent household. So it's like, at the end of the day, me and my mom was all I had. So I'm looking at it like, okay, let me talk to my mom about, you, and see what she said. And then for me, it was easy because I didn't have a lot of family and friends to, put their opinions in.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was.
That's so good. For me, I think it was more of, why do I want this particular person's support? One of the things I've always said to you, and when we have this conversation, is when my baby sister said, Patrick, and gave you a big hug, I said, he the one. See, I didn't need support from people in the way of conversation. When I brought you around and saw how you engage with them and they engage back with you, because I was getting to know you and because I knew them, I didn't have to ask them anything. Right? By the time I brought you around my family, it was make or break. Is this the one or is not? And so when my baby sister, because we've been together 10, so Colleen was 10, turning 11. Yep, she was 10. And Kiara was 13. And so, or 14. And so my sisters, my baby sisters, and we are very close to this day. I'm 15 years older than one and 10 years older than the other.
Wow.
Baby sisters have always had a very large and high gift of discernment. And, I thank my mother for making sure that we knew God, and my stepdad for making sure we understand biblical context, because they have had a great gift of discernment since they were children. And my baby sister would not speak. When I say baby sister, I'm talking about the youngest, would not speak outside of cordial speaking to either of the other two people. Over the years, I've only introduced my family to 3 people. The other 2, one, they didn't need an introduction because they knew him. They knew we were just seeing each other. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
My baby sister said, why you not paying for us?
Oh.
Why you not paying for us? Felicia, he do this all the time. Why he not paying for us? He can't say. He can't say. The one before that, my only other long-term relationship with a man besides Patrick, my baby sisters didn't even speak to him. They said hi. And that was it. We gotta go.
Yeah.
But when Patrick came around, they were fully embracing him, asking what Patrick was. And that is when I knew. And I said all of that to say, a lot of times we need to be very careful looking for support, because when we're looking for support in a relationship, we have to think of the context that person has in their mind. Just because they're kingdom doesn't mean they are whole. And so if we're speaking to a kingdom person, rightly divide the word, who can pray down in tongues with the best of them, but they have a skewed view of men because of how their mother treated their father and vice versa. Yep. Then how can I go to them and ask them about a man? God recently said to me to shut up on my opinions of what men should do, because I don't know men, I know Patrick.
So good.
And so I shut my mouth, and I realized that the man that God selected for me was specifically designed for the type of life that I'm called to. Yeah. And so a lot of times you cannot ask someone their opinion about a relationship because they're not even living in their truth. They're not even married to who they're supposed to be married to.
I'm trying to let you finish. That's good.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, some people want marriage advice, or want to know what somebody think about the person that they're thinking about marrying, but it's like, you're not a good example. So why do you worry about what I'm doing in my life? You ain't even got your life together.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we didn't start seeking advice until after we were engaged. And there were 2 couples that we sought for advice. My grandparents and his grandparents. And it wasn't because they've been married a long time. It's because they obviously love each other.
Yeah.
They obviously want to be together. I don't have a grandmother who's pissed off that she was married for 57 years. She loved my papa. Okay, she enjoyed being his wife. Okay, and she tell us about it to this day. Up until my grandfather got a little less mobile, he was chasing her around the house, grabbing her behind. Okay,
I know that's right.
Stop it. And so when we wanted to know what a real marriage would look like, I wanted to go ask somebody who had been married for 55 years and was still in love.
Yeah, and
And
still in
so
love.
that's the kicker. And so
Yeah.
that's where we began to get advice. And a lot of the core principles that we operate on, when we share our marriage framework with you all, that is where we got it from. Two couples who've been married over 100 years together that would do it again.
Yes, that's good. That is good. I'm over here. I'm trying to listen. I am in Amen Corner all by myself, so I have to remember when my guests. When my guests are talking, I'm like, Tiffany, you gotta be quiet. Okay, so I want to segue into this last piece, and then we're going to take a break. So let's talk about the marriage framework. So you all had wonderful examples of marriage, godly marriages, happy marriages, loving marriages. So can you share a little bit about what the mission and vision is that God gave for your marriage? Like, what is the mandate that God put on you all's marriage? And, share about that marriage framework and kind of how you all have been able to shape such a beautiful love story, but also a purpose-filled love story.
Our mandate is to be an example of kingdom wealth through marriage and being true partners and redefining what marriage looks like to the kingdom household, because there are so many people who just don't make it. So many marriages who are ordained and who are called, and because you feel like you're not supposed to be married, or you feel like it's not working out, you mess around and miss God. And when Patrick developed this framework, I say Patrick developed it because when we put it together, he was like, this is that. And I'm not used to him doing that. And so when he put this together, it completely aligned with the prophetic words we've been given. And even though we couldn't see it at the time, I am very glad that we paid enough attention to keep seeking God for what's the purpose of being married, because no one just gets married because they in love or because they love each other. There is a mission and a reason for that marriage, especially if you are a kingdom. And so I'll let Patrick share the framework with you guys, because every time I've shared it, he's had to make a correction to me. So I'm gonna let you. I ain't gonna even let you. I'm just gonna submit. You wrong.
So the first step of the partnership framework is communication. If you can't talk to your spouse, then you're not gonna have a healthy marriage. You got to be able to talk things out, whether it's good or bad. I mean, sometimes you're not gonna want to have that tough conversation that you need to have, but you gotta have it to be able to grow and keep the marriage strong.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add on that?
Well, I was just gonna say, when you bring that up, I always stop and think, because I know, communication is something I've worked on extensively the past couple of years, and this year has been all about intentional communication. And so I just want to publicly thank you for making that be. You remember when you were creating this and I asked you why wasn't vision first?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, if communication is not first, it doesn't matter what the vision is. And from that moment, I really said I have to be intentional about my words, because I don't want to just be somebody that talks a lot. Because I'm a talker and I love people and I love conversation and engagement. That's where I thrive, because I'm an extrovert. And so I had to learn that there was a mass difference between talking and communicating. And so following this framework has helped me see that the way I speak might not necessarily be the way that you receive information. And so just because I told you something or I said something to you does not mean that you received it in a way that made sense or in a way that gave you the tools to execute what I'm asking for. And I think a lot of times Black women, because we have to stand up to so many things and fight for so many things, when we get ready to communicate, we don't really have a lot left for our household because we've been fighting outside all day. And so we think because we here talking to you, we talking at you like we've been talking at everywhere else, and the communication just ain't landed. And so I just wanted to add, the importance of that piece being first. And it's taken me a couple of years to understand why it's first, but it makes complete sense.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, Jesus, this is
Baby, that's
good.
step one.
I know, and I'm like, we gonna finish this framework because this is good. But I wanted to, I don't want people to miss what you pulled out, Fee, from what PK did, is that communication had to come before vision. Like, what are we looking at if we can't even, communicate? What does the vision's never going to come to pass if we can't communicate with one another, communicate about the steps to make that thing come to pass, or any of those things. So I just hope that people really did not miss that. So PK, I'm gonna toss it back to you. Communication is number one. What is the next part of the framework?
The next part of the framework is vision. And the reason why, that's number two is basically like we were just talking about, if we say, okay, we want to take a trip to Las Vegas. We can't just see it and then, boom, we just automatically there. We got to talk about it and it's steps to actually get there. So you got to communicate so that way you can, really understand the vision properly.
Yeah. And one of the things you taught me, because I learned a lot from this just from watching you, because these were all things that I was very weak in. And, a lot of times, because we are not a traditional couple, I know one of the things we joke about all the time is, well, what does PK do? Well, what does PK do? Right? This is literally what he does. And so now seeing the vision, not just your vision or my vision, but what is God saying to us? And what it's taught me in this framework is when we talk about vision, I need to know which part of that vision is my responsibility and which part is yours. Because one of the things I know we talk about privately and we should start talking about publicly is that people think because they see me that you aren't responsible for the vision. Let's be clear, you the husband.
Oh, Jesus.
So when I'm out here on this internet making it shake, if I'm out here talking about, but I'm afraid, and my part of the vision, my responsibility of the vision is to use my voice to attract the right people into our space so they can be delivered and they can go through this process and they can learn this 2-3 words from you. That doesn't take away from the fact that this rise and fall on you, big homie.
Yeah.
If you ain't in tune with God, if you ain't really in alignment, if you're not hearing from him clearly as the leader of this family and the responsibility of this legacy, it don't matter what my voice do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what I continually learn every day is that my responsibility for the vision today might not be the same tomorrow. My responsibility for the vision today might be a long day of calls, but tomorrow my responsibility for the vision might be to tell you to go sit down somewhere and let me cook you something to eat because you need to rest.
Amen.
Your brain been going all day. You know what I'm saying?
You need a shoe thrown at you. Y'all are talking good.
This is what we talk about privately all the time. So when you reached out, we were like, we have to have this conversation. God been pushing for us to talk together about these things. So here we are.
Yes. All right. Oh, this is so good. This is good to my spirit. This is good because I know that people need to hear it. But I want to pull out one of the pieces because I think that it is a common misconception, just because of the way that the world does things, that, if you see a wife, right, they love to label women boss women, driven women, ambitious women, all of this. We're just out here making a living and doing it well, like we're taking care of ourselves, contributing to our households, like just normal stuff, but whatever. So we there's all these labels, and with those labels though oftentimes comes a set of negative like stereotypes and connotations. And this is, I'm gonna say this multiple times in this episode, y'all really do what works for y'all. And I know I've seen you publicly, kind of talk about this a little bit, and people kind of questioning, like, PK's change in terms of career, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think we saw this a lot with Auntie Tab is what they call her. I think her last name is Brown. But when she said that she retired her husband and like all of these things, that there is this connotation or this understanding or belief that if you see the woman at the forefront, that she must be, she's not submissive, she's running everything in the relationship, not understanding that in a godly marriage and in the way that things are structured, that the husband casts vision. If you really see a woman out here,
Come on,
a God-fearing
apostolic.
woman,
Come on.
yeah, like out here
Operation.
out here working in her purpose and doing so with a level of freedom that really can intimidate people. I think that's what a lot of people are intimidated by, is the level of freedom. Yes. But you see that God-fearing woman walking in purpose with a level of freedom that the world will never know, and she's married to a God-fearing man, you better believe that husband prayerfully behind the scenes is the one that's casting vision to make that thing even be able to like launch out. So I don't want people to miss that. I don't want single women to miss that. I don't want married people to miss that. If you're currently married and that's not the way that your marriage is structured, it's okay. Let's focus on some redemption, some reconciliation, go to counseling, get the things in your house in order, because this is how it should be. So I just don't want people to miss that.
I'm just wondering how much time she got, because I could have this conversation for 3 days.
And listen, we're going to keep rolling with it.
Let me tell you something. See, I got a couple of things that I could say right there. But one of the things that I want women to understand, and if I could get close to the camera, I want to tell the single women that it is not your job to build a man. It's his job to build you.
Oh, my Jesus.
Okay? The reason I say that is because there's a reason a woman has a womb. It is to hold and to carry. There's a reason that the man has a release to impart into that womb. It is very simple. He's designed to implant into you, to impart into you. And you're designed to receive from him. That's why we get mad when y'all won't pay for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why we get mad when you want to make moves and not communicate. And by we, I mean women, because we don't move like that.
Yeah.
But when women do not understand that they are the prize, they mess around and make decisions that cause them to miss out on the wealth they are called to. So we have to understand what provision really is. Go on, take a breath, because I'm about to go there.
Please do.
If provision, just breathe, because here's my question that nobody will answer. If provision was about how much money he contributes or where he works, does that mean that Adam was not designed to be a provider? Because if that was the case, they already had everything they needed financially in the garden. So was Adam not the head because he didn't need no money? That's my question. What is he assigned to provide? Adam's job was to protect the vision, and he didn't do that. So that's why we got a problem with Eve biting the apple. His job wasn't to go work no job and bring money in. His job was to protect the vision. And so because he had his eyes on whatever, when the scepter came in, he didn't go to the man. You talk about this all the time. Deception don't like real men. This is why a lot of your pastors like to work with women and don't want to call on no men, because really delivered men and whole men gonna see straight through that witchcraft. My husband see it all the time. So y'all think because the reason I talk so much is because he too busy seeing.
And I just talk at home, because at the end of the day, sometimes my internet, it is what it is. Sometimes my filter don't work right, and I don't want it to work right. So sometimes I can't really say what I really want to say. I have to keep it in, so that way, it don't mess up.
Come on, self-control. Yeah, don't mess up your witness.
Because sometimes it's like, hey, if I say what I really wanted to say, it's gonna mess up the video.
Yeah. And that's what women don't understand. Like, it doesn't matter that you're called to globes and nations and stages and all that. That's wonderful. Where's the foundation at? Where's the wall at? I learned that from my previous apostle. She said, Felicia, the reason you can go out here and just get out here and get it with no problem is because you got a wall to lean on.
Yeah.
And the reason he's able to be that wall is because he saved his ego to fight hell. He don't have no ego in his marriage. I don't have no pride in my marriage. The problem is most men got too much ego. Most women got too much pride. Black women don't want to ask for nothing. Black women don't want to cry. And then he's so busy trying to be hard and prove to the world he deserved this bad woman that he ain't even doing his job. And so that is why we are so team us.
Yeah.
Because we need to do what works with his vision. As long as he's providing for the vision, and as long as I'm handling my business as a wife, the people that's putting their energy into our business need to take a lesson and put some energy into theirs. And so then they can be happy.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
I ain't got time to be hard all the time. I'm trying to run me a bubble bath and like me.
Yo, relax. Just relax.
I ain't got time to be hard all the time.
For what? Exactly.
For what?
For what? Oh my goodness. Okay. Are there other parts to the framework?
You still got 2 more parts. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm just let you tell the 2 parts.
Listen, because I'm the one that keeps sending us on a tangent because I want to pull out a point at every turn. So we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're gonna continue with the framework. Y'all, they are giving away the secret sauce. Like, I really hope everybody's taking notes. Like, I'm taking notes because as the host is like my job, but I'm also over here like, what? Really? Make sure I take notes of everything. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. When we come back, we're going to continue with the marriage framework that they are sharing with us. And we're going to get into navigating some of life's transitions and what has kept them anchored. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
I get it. You've had all the coaches. You've done all the things. You have followed every rule. But now it's time to reprioritize. This is where you zone in on legacy-focused wealth. I want to personally invite you to RBW Live Atlanta. We're going to prioritize self-care, redesign our day-to-day, and create a schedule that works for us. So visit richblackatlanta.com. I'll see you soon. Bye now.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. I wish you all could be a part of the breaks that we take when we are recording because they are hilarious. So Felicia and I have agreed that we are going to be quiet so that PK can actually get through the rest of this framework. So they have been sharing, I'm live with the Kellys. They have been sharing their marriage framework. Y'all, we haven't even gotten into the business stuff yet. We still talking about life and love. So PK, I'm going to toss it back to you. Can you please share with us the last 2 parts of the marriage framework that you want people to know about?
Yeah. So the last 2 parts are support and execution. Support is something that I don't like to toot my own horn, but I think I got the support part figured out.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, it's like if you can't support the person that you're with, then at the end of the day, they can't really support you because you're not supporting them. And you gotta have support to be able to execute the way that you need to. Because if you don't have the support, then nothing else matters in the framework.
Yeah, this is so good. So we said we was going to be quiet. Anything else that you would like to add, PK?
No, y'all go ahead. If y'all got any questions.
I just got a whole bunch of amens.
I'm trying to tell you, I live with him. Like, I'm just here to attest to it. Like, to have a man that fully supports you, because that is what God's vision requires, is unmatched. Unmatched.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, support doesn't, like you mentioned earlier, it don't always have to be, financially. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the guy might have to do what I did. You might have to, quit your job to stay home with the kids. You might have to, drive for Lyft to be able to make ends meet when the business ain't really going like you want it to. Chances are, if it ain't going like you want it to, it's because you're not supporting right. I had to check myself on. Yeah. It's like if the money not coming in, then okay, what's wrong? Mm-hmm. If I'm, the lead, I'm the head of the family, I got to figure out what's going on with me, so that way the money for the business can keep coming in like it's supposed to.
Yeah. This is so good. So can you talk a little bit? I want to segue into one of the transitions that has happened in you all's marriage, and that's been a career transition. So I know that throughout the years you have, I want to say, become maybe more publicly involved in the family business, because I don't want to call it what the world would probably see. Let me say what the world would probably see, because I know what's what. The world would probably say Felicia owned a business and you had a career. We know behind the scenes that that's not really what it was. So can you talk about, though, making the transition to a more public role within the business? What was that like for you? Like, how did you navigate making that change?
I'm still trying to navigate it, to be honest with you, because it's like I'm honestly still trying to figure out, okay, like what am I supposed to be talking about, on camera? It's like I didn't know people wanted to hear from me. It's like I'm the behind the scenes guy. Like I talk at the house. I don't want to talk like to y'all. But now it's like, okay, I guess I gotta tell the people something. Yeah. So it's like, I guess let's talk about what we talk about at home. Like, there's no need in getting online and trying to, be somebody that you're not. Yeah. It's like, just talk about what you know.
Yeah. I think TikTok helped you too. Like, not just the going viral a few times, but like even having to be a part of what I was doing publicly, because it just got to a point where people had to see you. Like it was so much happening. Like we didn't really have a choice. Like, but
like, man, I'm trying to be behind the camera. I'm behind the camera. I ain't front of it.
Yeah. And then seeing you now, like one of the things that I notice you doing is I can see you assessing all the time. Like that's something you and Dorian have in common. I see y'all thinking and assessing, and I see you paying attention to different things that the clients are saying or different things that are happening at events, and you bring that stuff back just like we did in the car business. Yeah. And so it's like now watching you be the same person but in a different space. And so that's just something that I've witnessed you do, you know what I'm saying? Even whether it's been intentional or not, it's just something I've seen.
Yeah, that's good. This is real good. I absolutely love that. And thank you for your honesty. I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I've been a business owner, CEO for over 10 years. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like I understand my responsibilities, but as my life changes and as I change and as things around us change, I think that we would be remiss as leaders to not be in a consistent, maybe not constant, but in a consistent state of evaluating and kind of figuring out like how what we have been called to do, how is that supposed to be lived out in this season of my life? How is it supposed to be expressed, and what services and all of those things, and what is my role in this bigger thing? So I definitely appreciate your vulnerability on that, PK. So y'all went viral a couple times, and we've mentioned it a couple times in just this episode alone. So one of the ones that I remember most, Felicia, you mentioned one more recently where you said you went viral because you said you're gonna ask your husband, and I think the fact that went viral speaks to the reality that the world does not operate the same way that the kingdom does. What seems so just like earth-shattering for some people. I can't think of another word. It seems like such a foreign concept to other people. It's the norm, or should be the norm, for kingdom businesses. So that was one. But the one that I want to talk about, and you all have had a few, the one I want to talk about is when you surprised PK with his parents. I mean, I was into it. Okay, like that to me, this is love, right? This is love personified. This is love lived out. This is selfless love, and what I believe is godly love. So can you talk about, and I know you've shared the story, but you're here. So can you share the story about why it was important for that surprise to happen? And then PK, you can kind of share, like how you felt, in that moment and what it was like for you. So let's talk a little bit about what happened for people who maybe don't know. But I also want to talk about the scrutiny, which is very weird to me. But the scrutiny that it received, like, who gets mad if somebody surprises somebody with their mama?
And Black people.
I mean, it's all.
Can
It's our
I
cousin.
just say it? Like, yeah, for real. Our mamas.
You know we love our mamas.
You know, I kind of have to go back a bit. And I haven't told this much of the story, but I don't think you'll have a problem with me. You don't care. Let the Lord do it. Let the Lord use you. What a lot of people don't know is that in the beginning of 2022, January, I lost my granddad. A few days later, I lost vision in this eye. 2 weeks later, we had the funeral and an event less than 24 hours apart. And then right after that, I found out I had MS. And so life came crashing at one time. And so we had made a good bit of money selling a property. And so we're literally bleeding money, medical bills, moving. We didn't even know we were moving to Texas. And so by the time we get to Texas for the funeral, for the event, for all the things, God's like, yeah, stay right here. And we're like, wait, that's not the plan. The plan is to move to Charlotte. We got a plan already. We done sat down, wrote it down.
I help with the plan.
Yeah, you don't even be planning. Yeah. Like, God was like, and so we ended up in Houston. And so that sent us on a whirlwind of downward spiral. And we literally bled through our savings accounts. And so we're in Houston, literally looking for a place to stay. A friend of mine opens her home. Like, that is just the most gracious thing a person has ever done in our lives for our family of 4. And unfortunately, we came to find out through a lot of conversations that some of the people that were in our space were completely against us. In that time, I began talking to Patrick's mom because I saw the weight on him. Like, I could physically see it. People we were depending on who were anything you need, were actually just enjoying us, seeing us down, because people aren't used to seeing us down. People are used to seeing us up. People are used to seeing us with thousands and thousands of dollars to spend or give at any time. Like, people are used to me being able to say, what's the problem? Let me call Patrick. And Patrick saying, hey, write a $10,000 check. Let me do it. Like, that is the PKFE people are used to. And so when God sent us through a season of pain, he began to show us who was really there for us. And what I believe that when I began to see Patrick's depression, or the depression that attempted to take over him, I'll say it that way. When I began to see that daily, I knew I had a problem. Because Patrick is one of the most upbeat people I know. He always has a reason to laugh. It's just that way. And he's always taking care of us. And to see him just laying down and sleeping and just sitting in silence and not joking, I knew something was wrong. And so when I brought it to him, I was like, what's going on? You know, we need to talk. What's happening? I know things are not looking like we're used to, and this and that. Patrick said through tears, if I could just hug my mom, I think I would be okay. Less than an hour later, I was on the phone with his mom. Less than 2 hours later, we had a plan in place. And the next day she called me and let me know she talked to Patrick's stepdad and they were coming. In the middle of all of this same individual was working on this plan with me, the person who was supposed to be there for me and helping me and things of that nature that I don't realize is relishing in my downfall. We make a plan. They know Patrick's parents coming. And right before this happened, 2 days before the plan, this person began to try to thwart things. They began to try to ruin moments. And I thought I was tripping until we got into an argument. And we don't argue. We disagree. We get along very well and genuinely. And we got into an argument. I was angry and I used 3 cuss words. I had to repent of everything. I was so angry that I called Patrick's mama. That's how mad I was.
I'm telling on you.
Baby, I called his mama. I was like, I need to talk to somebody who's going to calm me down before I go to jail. And she said, hold on, babe, let me go outside.
I clearly got to step outside for this one.
And so I talked to his mom. This is just 2 or 3 days before they're on their way. This has been a 2-month process of planning. And she helps me to see the enemy
Yeah.
She helps me to see the enemy using people in my life just desperately trying to stop this.
Yeah.
I can say we, but I was the only one planning the surprise. He had no clue. I didn't know this video was going to do what it did. And so that is why I got his parents down here, because what people don't know is that that's our crew.
Yeah.
Us two, his parents, and my baby sister, the youngest one. And when my middle sister's in town, she comes around too. But that's our crew. And so for him to think he's moving 3 hours away, he's never lived away from home permanently, to actually move 20 hours away.
Yeah.
Because God said so.
Yeah.
He just been doing all kind of reckless stuff behind this chick for 10 years. And he like, all right, now, God, for real.
Like, all right.
And so to see my husband cry and to witness him in pain, like, I had to do something.
Yeah.
And so when I didn't know what to do, I called. If I don't know what to do and I'm assigned to his life, and God is not giving me the answer, I got to go back to where he was created. Right? And so if you were in a space and you cannot figure out where you're going or figure out what's next, you always got to go back to where you were created. And so when you go to the Father, you go to the ultimate creator. Don't be shocked that he sent you back to his mama. He lived in her body. What you mean I shouldn't have called his mama? But this is what happens when wives and mother-in-laws see themselves as enemies instead of allies. You brought him this far. We worried about who gives her away, who giving him away. Because he got raised too. He got curses too. He got legacies to leave too. So who giving him away? She brought him this far. I'm going to carry him the rest of the way. We got to stop acting like the women are the only people in the marriage. That's why y'all get left and cheated on all the time. Because you're the only person that's significant in your marriage. Now, if you married a cheater, that's because you didn't realize that the level you should have been on. If you knew he was a cheater and married him, that's a different conversation. But I'm talking about the women who are solid women, who have solid men assigned to a marriage.
Yeah.
And you can get on the same page with his mama. Why?
Yeah.
Both of you kingdom.
Yeah.
Because I see this mostly in the kingdom space, because y'all love positions more than you love purpose.
Yeah.
If you start focusing on positions and get your posture right, then your position won't fall in line.
Yeah.
So now, rather than me and his mama ain't never did this.
Yeah.
Once his mama found out who I was and my intention in his life.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like my family needs to know his intention in my life, everything was on the up and up. And so when I don't know what to do with him, I call the one that made him, because it's her fault.
Yeah, mamas and sons don't want to have that conversation though, right?
So that's why I called his mama. Because when I don't know what to do with him, I need to go back to the manufacturer. When my iPhone don't work, baby, I call Apple. When Patrick ain't working right, I call Patricia.
Yeah. I love that. So Patrick, what was it like? So you were in a space, and this is major transition. I love, it was one of the things that you talked about that I'm actually going to come back to. And I think, we'll talk about that on the break, but there was you said a lot. So with the surprise, like you were in a space of, depression trying to overtake, and I love, the language that you use with that fee. So PK, for you, what was it like to be in a space of major transition? And again, you guys have gone through, like, publicly a couple of big transitions in like very recent years. Again, these are things that I'm able to tell y'all stuff that's going on in your life because it's things that you shared. So you transition in the career, like you said, you're still, figuring that out. You all are supposed to be moving to Charlotte. I remember when y'all shared that, I was very excited because I now live in Raleigh, and I'm like, oh, this is going down. I'm getting on the road. I don't care if they say yes or no. I'm going to meet them, and we gonna be friends. Like, this is not
going over there. I'm going over there.
I'm going over there. But yeah, so you guys were moving to Charlotte. That got rerouted. So Patrick, as the husband, the man, the head, the visionary, what was it like from your perspective to be in a space of all of this transition, things like falling apart? You have a wife, who is now newly diagnosed and with the illness and just all of these things. What was it like from your perspective? And what do you feel like the visit from your parents did, like, why was that important for you, even though you ain't know about it?
So, for me, it's like I didn't even know like I was down. I didn't even know I was getting depressed. It's just like I remember saying one day like I just feel scared. Like I don't know, what's gonna happen. And like that's not like me to be scared, like have any type of fear, any type of worry like about anything. So then I tried to figure out, I'm like, okay, what is it? And I'm like, okay, it's everything that's going on, this year. I felt like I was off my game because I felt like I couldn't really, do nothing with the framework. It's like the framework had fell apart. So it's like, okay, people don't really understand what I do. We got this going on. I don't even understand what I do now because everything that I was living by ain't working, so it's just like everything was just all over the place. But bringing them down here, I mean, like I said, I don't know how many times, I don't remember if we actually got it on video or not, but I do remember saying that, like, I didn't know that hugging my mom was gonna change the world because it's like everybody, just a handful of people that didn't like it.
Yeah.
But we ain't gonna talk about that.
We're gonna leave Twitter.
Yeah. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Twitter hated us.
Yeah, but it's like if you are down and like you know what it is that can help bring you out of it, like if you didn't do what I told you would help me, well, what I thought would try to, help me get out of that situation, it's like, why would you want to put your spouse through that much more, torture? I mean, if you see that your spouse is having a problem, your spouse is telling you that they're having a problem, your spouse tells you what they feel like can help get them out of the problem, and you don't do it, what you married for? Like why you want to see your spouse hurt? I mean, if you see that they hurt and then you know that they hurt, why you want to keep them hurt? Like do whatever it is to get them back right.
Yeah.
That's so good. I was ready to throw a shoe at you too, but I was off screen. Like that really is good. Like if you have the solution for someone's, pain, and particularly your spouse, like why would you not, want to solve that? So I do want to talk about like team changes, because I know there's been some transition in you all's business. But actually, I want to save that for the last segment because that's the business part. Let's talk about advice, because I don't want to give, a lot of power or play or airtime to the haters on Twitter. Again, very weird to me what you could possibly say negative about somebody surprising someone with their parents.
Well, can I say something to that?
Let's
very, very quickly. This is something that I live by. When there are comments that say negative things about a positive situation, that person really isn't speaking to me. They are repeating what the enemy says to them. They are simply repeating because this person is powerless.
Yeah.
That they're only powerless because they have not activated powers they've been given by the Father. But when a person is living in a powerless state and they are receiving the words of the enemy, you can only repeat what you know.
Yeah.
You can't go out here and speak a language you've never heard.
Yeah.
And so when people are speaking in negativity and they're angry about things that are positive, they're simply repeating what the enemy is saying to them all day long. So when they're saying a woman should never do that, or why would you do that? He just gonna do this anyway. What they're saying is I wouldn't do that because I attract the type of man that's only going to cheat on me anyway. They're not saying that about me. So those of you who have content to put out, or if you speak or you do anything with your spouse, put it out there, because whatever the people have negative to say, they're often saying about themselves because that's what they hear all the time. And so that's how we do that.
That's
people
good.
gonna have something to say negative anyway.
Yeah.
But see, the train is with me, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna just say it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do too much online, because see, I'm a man. I'm gonna respond back, and I'm not gonna be thinking about a platform. I'm gonna be thinking about, you a man disrespecting me, or you disrespecting my wife. That's why I don't get online, because see, I don't care nothing about TikTok. I don't care nothing about Facebook, Instagram, none of it. If somebody coming for you or for me, that's a problem. I'm not thinking about the app or the platform or, oh no, I can't say that. No.
Listen, you gotta know your limits. And I always tell people, I ain't nobody's Holy Ghost, so don't ask me to stop you. You better know your limits. You gotta know what you can handle and what you cannot handle. So
I tell her all the time, I said, it's certain things that I'm just not mature enough for. So why would I put myself in a position that I know, I'm immature in something? Like I'm not about to set myself up for somebody to say, "Oh, look at what he did." No, I'm not about to do that.
Yeah.
I'll just avoid the situation.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is. And I think it takes maturity to know what you're not mature enough to handle. Like seriously, yeah. All right, so okay, so you were moving. Where were y'all moving from when y'all were going to Charlotte?
Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Okay, so from Goldsboro,
just outside of Raleigh, on the other side of Raleigh.
Okay, cool. So from Goldsboro, I'm familiar now. Goldsboro to Charlotte, and then God rerouted you all to Houston. What piece of advice would you give to someone who may find themselves, and particularly a married couple that may find themselves in a similar situation, right? Where they think they're going in one direction and God literally takes like a quick right and it's like, nope, I'm gonna put you all the way on the other side of the country. What advice or like what helped you all to stay anchored during that kind of transition?
Oh my goodness. A couple of things helped us to stay anchored.
Yeah.
One of the Matthew 6:33 is very real.
Yeah.
When a lot of times we don't expand upon what we know about God or the Bible. When Matthew 6:33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added unto you, that means anything that you feel like you lacking, whatever the thing is, even if that thing is clarity. And so when you lack in clarity, you don't know I'm going to tell you exactly what we did. When we came to Texas and we started feeling like something is off. This move is everything. Every date we had planned, I ended up having to be in Texas, or we had to come back to Texas, or we had this. Everything was extremely inconvenient all of a sudden. Extreme. God started upsetting stuff. Yeah. It's time to get you. It's because he wanted to say, hey, that does not mean God didn't say that was the direction we were going. But that doesn't mean God didn't allow us to think about Charlotte. Yeah. It could very well be God allowed us to have our plan because that was the path we needed to take to get on his plan. Yeah. And so once we got to Texas and we started seeing things were interesting, things were weird, money started bleeding. We started seeing these signs. We got to a house we rented. We walked in, 3-story house. We walked in, we go all the way to the rooftop, and there's a sign directly in front of us that says, love God, love Houston. Oh. Okay. I mean, Lord, if you wanted us to move here, you could have just said that. I ain't gonna be deep. So I skipped. I was like, you took some stuff away. But like, all right, God, I heard that. Let me make sure that's you, and I'm not being right. Me. Right. And so we go back in the house because you gotta inspect the house we walk in. We go downstairs to the main floor and we realize the content wall says this must be the place. Okay. So now we're talking about it. Hey, are we supposed to stay here? He's like, I was gonna ask you. It seemed like, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to make a bad move. And this, mind you, I'm still grieving my papa. Yeah. We just funeralized my papa. I'm the oldest grandchild and the first grandchild, so I made him, right? He wasn't a papa before me. I know that's right. And so then we're driving, still in Houston. I said, I just want to make my papa proud. I want to carry whatever I'm supposed to carry for the family. I want to be in God's will. I'm crying in the car. 2 moving trucks passed by. I knew you were about to say that. That says, I told Patrick, I'm crying. I said, I just want to do a good job. I want to do right by my family. All the things that a really significant death makes you think about.
Yeah.
And if you have not had a significant death, like a matriarch or a patriarch of your family or a parent or something like that, you will not get it.
Yeah.
But those of you who have had a significant loss in your family, a spouse or a child or a patriarch, someone that close, it will make you think about all of the life you've ever lived. And in that moment, I just wanted to do well in life. I was not thinking about money. I was not thinking about status. I was not thinking about designer labels. I was not thinking about anything other than living the life I was supposed to live.
Yeah.
And in that low moment, 2 moving trucks passed by that were titled Ike's Moving and Storage. Ike is my papa's name. And underneath it, I told Patrick, and Patrick has witnessed this. I said, I just want to make him proud. And the phone number to that moving company was 1-800-GOOD-JOB. And I looked at Patrick and I said, I think we're supposed to stay. And he said, I do too. And so when I said that to say, I was asking the Lord, what am I supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I was already feeling like a failure. My husband expressed to me that he was starting to feel like a failure. We looking at 2 children like, there is no way we miss God this massively. It is impossible. And so what we had to really see, because we used to be in on. Patrick ain't never had a money issue a day in his life. Okay? We missed a high credit score. Okay?
Came out the womb with an 800.
Missed the 800 beacon. You understand me? But I would have paid it off fast.
Okay? Listen.
And so for him to be in a space where he wasn't sure financially was brand new to him. Baby, I'm a risk taker. I've been broke a couple times.
Couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
But in that moment when we were in like nothing but God, it was like, what do we do? Seek him first. Always ask. He going to show you. And so now on the other side of it, when Amazon Publishing calling and Kiss Nails is calling and Dollar General and universities is calling, is because of obedience. There is a reason he had to move up to the center of the country. Now I can get to LA like that. Now I can get to New York like that. Now I can get everywhere. Now we can get everywhere. I'm working on we versus I. Right?
Listen, because he outside there. We pulling him from behind the camera.
And so I said that to say, if you are in a space where everything hurts, baby, it can't get no worse than that. You might as well trust God and go. Grieve on the go. Grieve on the go. I refuse to grieve in the bed. I refuse to grieve in the bed because I know the enemy. See, he think he know me, but I know him. I know that if I get in the bed and grieve in the bed, he's gonna try to keep me there. A lot of times we have to battle attacks because we dismiss the attacker. I know what he gonna do if I get in that bed. If I stay in that bed till 10 o'clock with tears in my eyes, baby, it's gonna be 3 months before I get out. So I grieve on the go. So if I gotta get on the flight, I gotta get on the flight. If I gotta cry on a plane, I gotta cry on the plane. They're gonna be all right. Put that pride down and be where you need to be. Put that ego to the side and be where you need to be. That's why your money messed up. That's why your relationships messed up. And just because a season is up with people that you wanted it to be assigned to does not mean that God don't have something greater for you. The people you crying over, a lot of times the people you crying over are not nearly as great as the people God trying to get you to. Right? I could have been crying over that ex that was cheating on me. I'm looking at his location. He had his baby mama house telling me he at work. Boy, you don't make enough money every 2 weeks to be at work that much. I know you lying.
Math ain't mathing.
It was hurting me at the time. But what I got now, you'll learn to thank God for the pain that got you to your purpose.
So good. So good. All right, we are going to take a break. This is probably going to be a 2-part episode, honey, because we just now get to segment 3 and we just talked about everything under the sun. So when we come back, we're going to take a break. We need a breather. I need to pass the offering plate. When we come back from our break, we're going to dig into the business side. So we're going to talk about rebuilding after all of these changes, as the Kellys have mentioned. They had location changes, money changes, health changes, family change, like all the changes that you could possibly imagine. They had them all in a short period of time. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to have them talk about the Rich Black brand because I really want the listeners to understand what that is. And then we'll wrap up for today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
March 8th is International Women's Day. As a community that started by exclusively serving women of color business owners, we are excited to join in this day of global celebration by hosting a virtual roundtable discussion. Coffee with the CEOs is a virtual roundtable featuring women of diverse nationalities who are leading the way in global business development. Join them as they share their strategies for building business ecosystems on Wednesday, March 8th at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Visit T3DiversitySolutions.com and click the Events tab for more information.
All right, welcome back, guys. Again, I wish y'all could be in the commercial breaks because I was about to be over here in tears. I just started testifying for myself, for my friends, and I'm like, we got to get back into record because we've been on here for quite some time, but it has been so good. Hopefully you all are sticking in there with us. The Kellys have been so open and sharing so much about their marriage journey, about their life journey, things that they have experienced. So where I want to pick up is something that they mentioned, I want to say in the first segment, we also touched on in the second segment, but it's been the financial piece. And what I was sharing with them during the break, and you guys have heard me share this on previous podcast episodes, is that I don't think that we talk enough about major financial losses as small businesses. So these billion-dollar businesses, and this, if you've ever been to business school, then you know this is like a really common thing. So these billion-dollar and million-dollar businesses, I mean, they can lose $1 million and it's like losing $1,000 to them, right? They just have that much in terms of revenue. When you are a small business, we really feel every ebb and every flow as we're building, our brands to be these, $1 million, multi-million dollar, and so forth and so on. So I've shared with you guys before that 2019, we did our financial projections for the upcoming year, which was 2020, and we were projected as of December of 2019, we were at a projection of $433,000 in revenue. That was the most that we were ever going to make. And I knew, I was like, I can close this $70,000 gap and make this at least a $500,000 year. It was going to be the first time that had ever happened for us. I was very excited, in shock, couldn't believe it. January came, we're trudging along. February came, we're trudging along. Here comes March. Here comes COVID. And literally the train just stopped. Like what felt like the blink of an eye, that projection of $500,000 cut down like that to less than 200,000. Within a few more weeks, that projection cut down to us barely hitting the six-figure mark. And I want to say in 2020, by the grace of God, we closed at a little over $100,000 in revenue. But I had to let team members go because a budget of $500,000 versus 100,000, two totally different things. And we lost that. And it felt like the blink of an eye, like what you said earlier. Like we were bleeding, like I could not stop the bleed. So I've shared my testimony and all the things that have played into that. And I really want you all to talk about, I want this to be the six-figure secret, right? So typically I'm like, oh, tell somebody something that you use to build your business. But I want you all to share what your secret was to navigating that from the business perspective, navigating the financial loss from the business perspective, and how have you all been able to recalibrate to build back?
Oh, that's so good. It's interesting that we even had this issue because the COVID was a complete opposite for us. We had the biggest $1 million in 9 months, baby. What you talking about? But here was the mistake. If that's what it's gonna do, let me wear my mask. But in all seriousness, we had a complete opposite of COVID. We had the biggest year we've ever had, but we had it with the wrong people across the board. We had it with the wrong people. And I don't just mean like employee team. I mean with the accountant I selected, with the payroll company I selected. So I'm going to tell you what I did wrong, what happened, and how we fixed it. And so let's be very clear that I had a $330,000 payroll. Okay. A lot of people want to make $300,000 in their business. Okay. I was making $100K a month. Clockwork. My clients were making $100K a month. The ones who wasn't making 100K was making 50. The one who wasn't making 50 was making 25. Clockwork. Right? Here was a major issue. Inside my team began to breed jealousy, discontentment. People who had built these things with me were now upset that I was receiving the benefits of what we built. See, because I wasn't at work every day. I was with my kids. We on trips. We in LA every month because that's where we like to be, right? Those are the things we're doing. We were family. That's what you're supposed to do when you build a company. But here is where I dropped the ball. I did not take that stuff seriously. And so the same accountant who did not like this, did not want me saying this, was managing my money. That's not smart. The same payroll company that got a problem with this, that was referred by the accounting company. Ooh. And so now I'm not getting proper accounting advice. Oh, but here's how it's my fault. I wasn't paying attention to that. Oh, we making money. We making money. We making money. With no structure. Big payroll. Paying somebody $60,000 a year when I could be paying a contractor $15 an hour. Why? Because I wanted the highest paid team. And that's what I had. That was a problem. And so now you watch, because if you made $1 million, that's assuming it's $1 million cash, because that payroll is cash. If you don't have the proper cash flow statement, you're not looking at that P&L right, you don't have somebody telling you which financial reports you need to maximize your business, and you just out here living because you're making money. And so then, when the payroll company decides, you know what, I really don't like this, and you got a cash flow issue right now, and I'm going to let you fail. And the accountant don't send no warning, don't bring up no red flag. See, because you think because you make good money, you know how to make money, that your decisions is cool. And because you have an accountant, because you have payroll, you letting them do their thing. Let's not forget that if they stop doing their thing, you're going to be the one holding the bag. And it probably ain't going to have no money in it. So this is where you need to be worried about your haters. Who's inside your business making decisions? You got a spirit of jealousy in your team? You got some witchcraft in your team? You got some heavy manipulation in your team? You got people want to come in and pin people against each other on your team? Because baby, when it start growing, it will happen. Just like y'all go to work. See, the problem is y'all don't see yourself as a real company. And so just like when you were going to work and people were doing the things that they were doing, you were doing the things you were doing, it happens in your company. And so when all that came crashing down, and you got people still saying, well, I want to help you do this, I want to help you do that, your job, your response should be, no, here's why. As a business owner, you always want to be able to pay. Here is what I had. I had an operations director. I had an executive assistant. I had a copywriter, a content manager, a tech person. I had all these people. I had a team of 20, 7 employees, 7 or 8, 9 contractors, trying to do what I thought I was supposed to do. Yeah. And so when it all came crashing down and I sat with God for a year, I realized, Felicia, one, you need to always maximize who you have. Everything on the company will rise and fall on the team. And the mistake many of you make is when you have a run-in with a horrible decision and the consequences of it, you start going back to your default and playing small. And so what I did on this side is I sat down with Patrick for every decision. Every decision. Cheat code. Stop being married if you don't want to talk to your spouse. Cheat code. You make decisions together. So then we say, all right, let's get this assistant to take this monotonous stuff off my hands. So I got a new assistant. Once I got that assistant, I said, okay, what's the problem, Fee? You are using the wrong systems, because what worked now, you use ClickFunnels before and Kartra and stuff like that before, but now you need lead pages, Klaviyo, and Shopify. Why? Because you're not coaching anymore. Now you have products. Now you're speaking. Now you're doing influencer work. So when you do these things, you need to route these people back to your products, so people walking around like this.
Yes.
And so once I did that, I said, okay, now I need help with all that tech. So I called my tech guy. Contractors. I got somebody on tech. I walked through it myself so I can learn what I like, what processes I like. I documented it, and then I sat down with that person and make sure they were fully trained before I hired anybody else.
That's
Y'all
it.
don't want to take stuff off your plate and you just need to eat it for now. And so once I did that, I said, okay, copywriter, here's what I need to do. I can't pay a copywriter up front. I need a revenue share copywriter.
Yeah.
If you're going to come in and write copy and we're going to make $250,000, I don't mind giving you 10 or 20% of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's totally cool. And so you find a copywriter that's cool to work on commission. Once I get my copywriter onboarded, which I'm in the process of now, then I'll go back to the sales and marketing piece. I'm not hiring to replace my skill set until I've replaced the things that I don't need to be doing.
Yeah.
Now that I've done that, now we can say, okay, let's change these offers up. And my audience needed something fresh.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take the thing that God is focusing on now and turn it into a 5-figure offer. Once I did that, clockwork.
Yeah.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would do. A lot of times people can't make more money because they won't do anything different, and the offers is old.
Yeah, for sure.
But that is literally how we started making money back once we make that big mistake. First thing you gotta do is hit it head on.
Yeah.
I had to get on the phone with some interviewing new accountants and just cry and tell them the truth.
Yeah.
We got this capital loan that need to be corrected. We got these taxes that need to be.
Yeah.
Just bear your soul. It'll be all right. That's literally the steps we took.
Yeah. And I love what you said about the accountant piece, because Gigi Genesis, she shared the story publicly plenty of times. But that's how people like end up in jail. Like, you'll be the one going to jail, not your accountant. Like, correct. Playing around with these people who are jealous. For those of you who listen to the podcast, you heard Genesis tell her story on here. And thankfully, that's the only person close to me who I know has ever actually had that happen to someone around them. But yeah, that's how it goes. We see it now with the Chrisleys. They're getting ready to, go and spend some years in jail behind all of this tax stuff. And a lot of times it really has to do with the accountant, and there not being enough oversight from you as the CEO. Like, you still have to have that oversight to make sure that you're checking in on everything that's going on. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to talk about the Rich Black brand, and I definitely want you all to both speak on it. Fee, if you can speak from the perspective of, so talk about the overall brand, and then why Rich Black Woman, Rich Black Man. You all can speak to that respectively.
Rich Black brand I thought we were just gonna sell some t-shirts. I didn't expect it to be a lifestyle empowerment company. That's not what I expected. But it's about seeing your ultimate value. Rich Black brand is about it. You don't always have to be an entrepreneur, right? Some of you are entrepreneurs. Some of you are called to work with people who have the vision, and that's totally okay. And you need to see who you are as a brand, right? What has God called you to be, and where has He called you to be, right? As a Black woman, as a Black man, you need to see your richness already. I noticed that people don't have a problem with this piece, right? They don't have a problem with the Black. They know I'm Black. They can see that. A lot of times they don't have a problem with the woman. They don't have a problem with that. You can see that. Well, they don't even have a problem with the Black woman. That's cool. But when you put this in front of it, now you start getting those looks getting on a plane. You start getting those looks. What she mean by that? And the entire purpose is to show you that you are rich already. The reason Rich Black Woman was the forefront of the movement, and it took me a long time to understand this, it is because it is for women who are called to the front. It's for women who are called to the front, who have a voice, who are called to a space of power and authority. And then you got the rich black man who I'll let him speak to, but she's fully supported by that rich black man who's not intimidated by her. So as a rich black woman, I am going to go out in my power and my authority every day and live in my calling. It is about being that Proverbs 31 wife. That is what it's really about being. So you can thrive in life, love, business without compromising who you are as a woman, as a wife, or as a mother. And that's what Rich Black Woman is about. Now, hand over to Patrick for Rich Black Man.
Well, for mine, it honestly did just start out as a teacher. I don't have quite all the language like that for men yet. It's coming. But for me, it's just, figuring out what it is to support, what it is to be a good stand up man, to be there for your family, to show that it's okay to cry, because like you said, like black men didn't get a chance to cry until Kobe Bryant died, so it's like for then now us to go viral with that video of me standing there crying like a baby. It's like, okay, like, is that what the rich black man message is? That, no matter how strong you are, you can be vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So thank you. I remember the first time I saw Yuffie posting about the rich black woman. I was like, what? I'm like, I know I'm rich, but ain't nobody said it out loud, child.
Yeah, I was a little nervous to post. It's been probably 2.5 years I've been posting that now, but I was so afraid to post it. Mm-hmm. And when I branded it, I had a few people in my space who were very offended. Mm-hmm. Not that they didn't like it, but they thought it couldn't be owned, because like you can't own that. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like,
and we need to own our stuff. Like, we are a creative, innovative people, and our creativity is oftentimes because other folks recognize that ownership is key. So what typically happens is that our creativity, our ingenuity, our innovation, someone else will come and own it. And then there's nothing that we can do about it. We think we owned it just because you created it. Now you need to own that thing on paper. You need to own that thing, legally. You need to own it with the government. The government needs to recognize that you own it. So I'm glad y'all did that. I'm glad y'all took that step. All right. So we are down to the end of our time. I definitely have so much more that we could talk about. We already got a 2-part episode. Y'all gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to hang out some more, like seriously, over on the podcast station. So I want to wrap up by having you all tell people how they can get connected to the Rich Black brand. And any offers and stuff like that, we'll include it in the episode once it goes live. But in general, how can they stay connected to you all and find out more?
Yeah, if you go to richblackmovement.com, it'll pull up the link. It'll show everything that we do, whether we're having an event, whether you want to shop the latest merch. We just dropped some new merch, hoodies, things like that. So anytime you want to find out where we are, what we're doing, you go to richblackmovement.com, and it's going to have everything there, from books, events, and everything.
I love that. I love that. So thank you all so very much for being with me. Like, this was so special to me. I'm really grateful. As I'm shared with you all really inspired the entire series for this month. So I'm definitely grateful that we were able to make this work in terms of time and get this done. I am praying for the best, believing for the best. I'm so grateful, that God has just restored and redeemed. And I know that you all's wildest dreams, that God is going to exceed that and go beyond it. I can't wait to hear what testimonies come next, and just see and witness the beautiful things that God does for you all, and how he continues to replace the ashes with more and more beauty. So thank you all so much for being with me.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, y'all, listen, I think I'm going to have to chop this down into 2 episodes, because this was so much content. I feel like we went to church first a couple times, and they just really shared a lot I love the marriage framework. They talked very openly and transparently about navigating life transitions. I love the fact that they were able to just be to share and be vulnerable about that, and then also to talk about the financial piece, to talk about the ups and downs of business, what they did wrong, and how they bounced back. So, if any of this resonated with you, please make sure you leave a comment. If you see a clip on social media, make sure that you share it, share the podcast with people that you know. And more than anything, I want you all to support the Rich Black movement. All right, I'm done. I'm all talked out. I love you guys to life. I'll see you next week for another episode of the Six Figure Setup podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie. Bye.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Well, now is your chance to like, subscribe, and share. Let us know how much you love the Six Figure Setup podcast by leaving a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all the visuals for this and other episodes. Share this episode to social media and tag us using the social links in the show notes. Thanks for listening every week.